going? So today I am so thrilled to be partnering with my friends Priscilla and Ryan from Follow the Hills. We are doing a collab today on basically our feelings of becoming pregnant after we had a PCOS diagnosis. So if you are someone who is not familiar with PCOS, PCOS stands for Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome, and basically what that does is it changes a lot of your hormone dynamic and basically changes your fertility to make it really difficult for you to conceive. For me, I have been diagnosed with PCOS since I was about 14 or 15, and the doctor at that point told me that I could have a hard time getting pregnant and I might not. My daughter was born as a surprise to us, but my first thought when I knew she was coming was relief. I knew that my body could do what it was designed to do without fertility treatments and that kind of thing, and I was relieved. When I was a little bit older, so my daughter was born when we were 21, so we were young kiddos back then, and we were about 28, 29 when we started trying to conceive for Harrison. His conception story was a little bit different. So I had been on the Mirena IUD for quite some time, and so I had to detox my body from progesterone, and I also had to check in on my hormone health. As soon as I had the Mirena removed, my PCOS symptoms went whoosh. They all kind of came back. And if you're not really super familiar with PCOS, the symptoms can be kind of dormant when you're taking birth control. And then they kind of come back on full force when you're not on some kind of hormonal birth control. So I started to grow more hair back on my face. My skin started to get oily. My appetite was like crazy again. And I just knew that my PCOS had escalated. What I started doing was I looked into natural remedies. I started eating a high protein, low carb diet. I started taking hormone stabilizing medicinal supplements like maca root. And I tried to exercise more in hopes that I would conceive. I did conceive 2 cycles into having my Mirena IUD removed, and I was thrilled. And I took a couple of pregnancy tests, and I called my midwife. She wanted me to come in to have my beta levels drawn. My tests were not great. The lines were pretty faint. And I discovered I was pregnant when I was around 4 weeks, 4 days, I think. And so I went in and I had my beta level drawn, and the number was 52, which if you've ever had a beta level drawn, you'll know that that is kind of a low number, especially even for that early in pregnancy. And I know that numbers can vary a lot, but that's a pretty low number. So she wanted me to repeat the blood draw in 2 days. So I would come back in the next day because it took the results a day to process. And I came back in and my numbers had dropped. So at that point, I knew that I was going to be miscarrying. They consider that early of a miscarriage to be what's called a chemical pregnancy. It's just a very early loss. My heart was broken. At that moment, I realized that PCOS could take something from me. It could take my ability to make a choice about growing my family, and it could actually take that ability from me to grow my family. So I continued on my natural regimen, and I got pregnant on the next cycle. And now if you are someone who has ever been pregnant after a loss before, you'll know that utter terror in your heart, right? I hoped so much that pregnancy would go through, and I stayed pregnant for about a week and a half, and then I lost that pregnancy as well at 6 weeks, 5 days. And at that moment, I started to kind of hate my body. I started to think that I wasn't going to be able to do what other women could do. We start to kind of want to blame ourselves. We want to find what's wrong and we want to fix it. All of my PCOS tests actually came back normal. I was in the normal range for testosterone and that kind of thing. There was just no reason. So she said that I could keep trying and that we may have just been unlucky. They consider it to be unlucky when you've had 2 miscarriages, and then they consider it to be potentially something worth investigating once you've had 3 or more, at least according to my hospital in my state. So we kept trying, and we tried for 3 more cycles. And by that 3rd cycle, like, I was just in my own head. I was like, what is going on? You know, I'm doing all these wonderful things for my body, and all I want is for my big kid to be a sister, and I want us to grow our family. That's all I wanted. And on that last cycle, on that 3rd cycle after my 2nd miscarriage, so it was our 7th cycle total, I got a positive pregnancy test at 10 days past ovulation, which was super early. And in my mind, I had like told myself, I was like, don't test, don't test, don't test. You don't want to know this early just in case it's a chemical pregnancy, because in my mind, like, not knowing I was pregnant was the better option than knowing I was pregnant and losing it, basically. So I tested and I got a positive pregnancy test, and I freaked out. It was early in the morning that day, and my daughter Delilah was down there with me. We were getting ready for school, and I just blurted out, "You're going to be a big sister." And when I said that, I just had this like overwhelming feeling that everything was going to be okay. And it was. Everything was just fine. Harrison came into the world, and he is now a happy, healthy 17-month-old boy. But those feelings of protecting your heart and feeling like you might be inadequate to other women, or that you're different, or, you know, that you might have to be on a journey to build your family, are really different than, I would say, other women who are trying to conceive. So my feelings about being pregnant after PCOS, or even I would say during PCOS, was that it was a miracle. I loved every second of my morning sickness, and I lost my mind when my morning sickness went away. I was like, oh my gosh, no, it's not happening again. But what I know now are that pregnancy symptoms kind of come and go. So I loved being sick. I mean, in the moment I was like miserable, right? Because we all are during those kind of things. But I cherished every single second that I was sick, every ache, every anything that just kept my pregnancy moving forward. I cherished it. I cherished feeling everything and every little milestone. I cherished the little kicks, and I cherished the elbows to the ribs, and I would sit and be quiet with my pregnant belly a lot and try to take videos and remember it. And even now that he is a toddler, I worry that I am starting to kind of forget what I love so much about pregnancy, and what a miracle it is that my body was able to bring him into the world. So my feelings on being pregnant after PCOS are that it's miraculous. I mean, PCOS steals so much from women. It can steal your confidence. It can steal your body from you. It can steal your femininity from you. If you have hairs growing out of your chin, you know, you might not feel super feminine. But when you are able to conceive, and when you have that baby growing in your belly, I know that you will cherish it just like I did. I know lots of women who've gone through infertility, and I know lots of women who've gone through pregnancy loss. And I would say that those are some of the strongest women that I know, number one, and some of the people who cherish their pregnancies more than anyone that I know in this entire world. Thank you so much for checking this video out. And if you haven't already, please go check out Priscilla and Ryan. I'm going to link them right up here. And they are also down in the description box below. And their channel is called Follow the Hills. They seriously are such a phenomenal couple, and they have been on such a journey. But you got to go check out their channel to hear their story. Don't listen to it from me. Go check them out. So thank you again, Priscilla and Ryan, for collabing with me today. And by the way, you guys, have fun today.